There he is in Washington, D.C. It's Bill B in D.C. and lots that I wanted to talk with you about. Hi, it looks like you're so far from you're using your iPad or something. Looks like you're.
I am indeed using my iPad, yes.
But you sound great, and that's all that matters. You look good, too. I like the 3/4, Bill.
Do you? So I feel like a bit of a dwarf here. It's like I've got
your arms look too big at that angle,
right? I've been working out a lot, so I'm kind of.
There's something going on. The
camera, it's very Popeye.
The camera's making you look like Popeye. This is.
Yeah, I have to pull my head forward a little bit so that my head does not look tiny.
Don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do, Bill. You can't say
it's true.
Say me. Look at me. I look like a naked mole rat. Although I do like this shirt. Good to see you. Let's see, Tuesday night. We're talking at 7 p.m. We are just hours away from government funding running out right there in D.C. And that means the government shuts down at 12:01 a.m. tonight or tomorrow, I guess, as we're talking on Tuesday night. Anything that you see that would change this? There's no conversations happening, it would seem.
No, it's definitely going to close down. I mean, it where it is right now, I don't think Trump even really, according to Schumer, Trump doesn't even understand the healthcare effects of the bill that Republicans want Democrats to sign or to agree to, which would add gigantic increases to many people in many red states because it leaves out the subsidies that Obamacare was given for a long time. So the Republicans are just not operating from a place of any sort of logical interaction with what Democrats want. I mean, a good example, and even Republicans were saying this today. There's a couple that I saw saying this openly today, that, they're like, look, we understand Democrats, even the ones that would make a deal with us, they need to know that Russ Vought will actually spend the money. And so, if you're Democrats, what you're being told is like, oh, just do this bill and trust us. And these are the least trustworthy people that you can imagine, even in terms of politics, they're untrustworthy. So, for Democrats, there's no benefit to signing on to something that isn't offering them anything. And it's really going to hurt a lot of people. And by the way, like a big part of this is, Trump is saying now, if this happens tonight, it's going to mean that we're going to fire a bunch of people and we're going to cut Social Security and Medicare. Well, I mean, that's like inviting Democrats to a party, right? Republicans do that. No one's going to blame Democrats. They're going to say, look, if Trump cuts Social Security using this as an excuse, it's on him. That's a guy who's like pointing a gun to his head and saying, don't, I'm threatening you. So it's ridiculous. So, there's no realistic politics going on here. This is Trump and his people trying to jawbone themselves into dominating the Democrats yet again. And Democrats can't go along with it. The base is so wanting to fight. So wants to fight. And
is my understanding correct that Democrats are trying to use the leverage that they have here to claw back some of what we lost in benefits, specifically in healthcare, as a result of the legislation that Republicans passed and Trump signed, the big, beautiful bill, huge cuts to healthcare subsidies. And so Democrats don't have the numbers, but they do have leverage in terms of this government shutdown. We've seen this before. The party out of power can try to get something. And is that right? My understanding?
You need 60 votes in the Senate. And so, there's only 53 Republicans, so they're going to have to, and, there's no longer a, Manchin, our friend in Arizona, whose name escapes me for the moment, is gone. Like there's much fewer squishy Democrats than there used to be. And so if the Republicans can't convince 6 or 7 of them to come across to vote for a bill, then the bill doesn't pass.
Republicans could pass it using reconciliation. They've done it before. Why not just use?
I don't think they can in this case. Reconciliation is pretty technical, but in this case, I don't think they have the option of doing it. And let me put it this way: if they could do it through reconciliation, they'd already be doing it.
It's the least important concern, but it is the one that everybody asks: who gets the blame? You already intimated that you think that Republicans will get the blame. Eric Levitz, writing at Vox, said Democrats are taking a big risk by moving forward with a government shutdown, hoping that Trump is bluffing. If he isn't bluffing, the shutdown could look far different from those in the past. The Trump administration has already threatened to fire federal workers outright rather than furlough them, and to further gut the regulatory state. I think what he's saying there is Democrats have a lot to lose. This was the argument last time too, when Chuck Schumer wanted to vote to keep it open, because the damage that they are going to do, that this guy Russ Vought, OMB, is going to do in terms of firing people and gutting programs, is hard to imagine what kind of damage they could do.
Well, I mean, again, stop threatening me with a good time, right? Like, I mean, basically, Levitt, he's a good guy, he's a good writer, whatever. But what's going to happen if you knuckle under? Are they going to go, oh, cool, we're going to give the Democrats some of what they want? Of course not. They're going to be more encouraged to take more extreme actions. And, the numbers right now, I think it's in the 30s, like the mid to 30s of people who are blaming, 38%, I believe, of the poll I saw, people blaming Republicans right now. It's like 20-something, 25, 28% blaming Democrats, and the rest don't blame both, actually. Now, here's the thing. The people blaming Democrats, they're basically core MAGA Republicans. Everyone else is either blaming Republicans or blaming both. And in the end, Republicans control all three chunks of the government. They're offering the Democrats nothing. And what they're going to do, cutting Social Security, cutting federal workers, firing people permanently, all this stuff hurts Americans. So, Democrats are basically saying, hey, look, you don't have to do all that stuff. You don't have to do any of that stuff. We could have who's advanced said, Democrats are holding us hostage over policy differences. Oh, gee, I'm sorry. Like, I thought that's what politics, that's what it is. Like, right. Democrats aren't like doing this because there's some orange encrusted weirdo who likes fights with people, like the president. They actually have real policy things that are going to matter for real regular people in the country. So, yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, Democrats have to understand, like, if you take 6 fights in a row and you win 5 of them, you did pretty well. And they have to show some guts, some balls. They have to be ready to fight over things that matter. This obviously, clearly, totally matters. Does Congress show any balls versus the president? Do the Democrats defend people's health care? Do they defend the idea that an opposition party has influence, right? I mean, that's all the marbles right there. And if they continue to roll over, there's not going to be a Democratic Party. There's going to be something else, because people are looking for that. People want to fight. They want somebody to limit Trump. I mean, Trump's got a 40%, 38, 37% approval rating, depending on who you talk to. He's really fucking unpopular. Literally, the only domestic policy that he has that is close to 50% is a crime. Everything else, he's underwater above 8%. And that's including on immigration.
Which policy that he has that's popular, which is a crime?
Like Trump's approach to crime. When you poll people, he's like underwater by like a point or two. Right. Everything else, he's under close to 10 points or down as much as 30 or 40 points. Like, Trump's fucking unpopular. Don't let this guy hold power over you because he's threatening everybody. And that's the way the Democrats should place this. Or state it. Trump isn't threatening Democrats. He's threatening regular Americans. And that's the reality. I saw a great thing of, if you cut the subsidies for people in West Virginia, a married couple in West Virginia that is currently paying about $1,100 or $1,200 a month. This is people making 80 or 90 grand a year, paying $1,100 or $1,200 a month for healthcare, could go up as much as $3,000 a month. Like, these are real gigantic hits. And I will tell you, if Democrats don't fight this, they will hold some of the blame for those huge premium increases that people are going to get later. If Democrats fight and lose, they still have a really good chance of having people remember those were the guys that tried to stop this from happening. And you either stand up or you get rolled over. That's it. Not that complicated.
How is it going to affect DC? They say this one could be a lot worse, and who knows how long the government shutdown could last.
DC's already in a bad recession. There's not. Does it get worse? Sure, it gets worse. But he's already fucked the city up, and he's going to continue to. It's foot traffic in places like Georgetown is down 11, 12, 13%. Down in the mall as much as 17%. Like, imagine the shock people don't think when you put troops on the streets in the city that it's any safer. Quite the opposite. The average tourist says, I'm not going there. There's troops on the street. Right? So Trump has already screwed up DC. And again, like, as you know, I have a personal stake in this, business-wise, personally, etc. I live downtown. This is the city I live in. I'm saying to the Democrats, go for it. Shuts down the city for a month, fine, fuck it. But that's the price we have to pay to push back on this guy and put some limits on his insane exercise of power so far, then that's the price you pay. I mean, again, these things will cost us, but they cost us more if we don't fight.
Right. All right, let's switch to the other big issue that took place today. Was the big extravaganza where the Secretary of War, criminals, see what I did, and the president, who's also a criminal, addressed, I don't know how many hundred. Did you see that crowd?
800.
800 generals and admirals and like 4-star, 3-star, 4-star generals, all there, making for the most amazing target ever for a terrorist. Luckily, nothing happened, but what a real dumb idea to put all those people in a room. Also, just to call them off their watches all over the world. Also, that was probably not cheap, so it seems like a waste of money. And also, it was televised, so it was a publicity stunt. And finally, as a comedian, as a performer, I think the most important thing I can ever do is be prepared for an audience. Neither Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump were ready. And to be fair, the way they've conditioned themselves and been conditioned by MAGA, everywhere they go, people cheer them in these types of speeches. And when you lose that cadence of the audience reaction, it really throws you. And you could see both these guys were awful today, and it was cringe to watch.
Yeah.
Because these generals and military leaders did what military leaders at that rank, certainly, and every other, are trained to do, which is not react, not be political, not show enthusiasm to the commander-in-chief in this case. It was a disaster, in my opinion. The optics were awful. I found much. I would imagine that these guys resent someone like Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, who said some of the cities in America are worse than Helmland Province. And some of these guys fought in Helmland Province. I was just at Arlington, where, our friend Kate Wyatt's husband is buried. He died in Helmland Province, Marine Derek Wyatt. And, I just can't imagine these men looking at these two other men, one who avoided service and the other who faked it, who's really a DUI hire. What are your thoughts on anything I've said or anything else about this event, what transpired, why they did it?
So I think what it gets at in the big picture is that in the modern age with social media, the idea of public virtue has completely evaporated in the society at large. Bill Burr is going to Saudi Arabia. Anzia Sari is going to Saudi Arabia. Some clown from a unit who was never more than a captain from a unit that after he got busted for war crimes, that's Hegseth, is now Secretary of Defense. Marco Rubio sells out every scrap of his political belief. J.D. Vance, who called Trump Hitler at one point, sells out all of his political beliefs just to have a scrap of power and money and influence. Virtue is dead, at least on the Republican conservative side in American politics. But you know where it's not dead? It's not dead in the military. Virtue in the sense of military virtues, of being honest and of being accountable and of being effective, of doing the work, that's still incredibly present in the military. And guess who it's most present in? Other than master sergeants, it's in your field grade officers. These guys have been in the machine for 30 years, 25 years. They have imbued themselves with all of those attitudes and view of the world. That room, I forget her name now, excuse me, it's an NBC Pentagon correspondent. I saw her today. She said that she had been on the phone for 2 hours after the meeting, calling every general she knew, every admiral she knew.
Helene Cooper, I think.
Right, where she said she couldn't find a single one who was happy with what he saw today. So these guys got dragged out of often very important jobs, halfway around the world in many cases, to get like a like you know what Hegseth was describing? He was describing a Russian view of the military. Like those stupid like videos the Russians were putting out before the war in Ukraine of all these guys running around and chewing on broken glass and headbutting each other and like showing off their muscles. That's the view of the military that Hegseth has, as does Trump. They don't realize that a bunch of guys with fat dudes with beards and 17-year-olds who can't run a mile are killing 1,000 Russians a day with drones in Ukraine.
Right.
Like the real world is about like getting all these capabilities mixed together. The guys who can run and shoot, and the kid who can work a joystick or fix a drone. That's what a real military needs.
I'm guessing there's a lot of very qualified trans people who can fly drones or
there were trans people who were in the special forces. I mean, there's not like a, that's the thing in real world combat now, you have to have all kinds of capabilities. I knew people who were the most important people recruiting for the Marine Corps. And what they used to tell me was, our biggest problem is we can't get the nerds.
Right.
We're desperate for kids who can work with computers, but who can pass the physical. It's incredibly difficult for us to find those people. And we need them because the modern world is not a bunch of guys rucking over mountains in Helmand province. It's going to be handling AI and handling, all the things you need to run a modern war. And Trump and Hegseth have not the foggiest idea. I mean, Trump was talking about a World War II movie called Victory at Sea and lamenting that we didn't have more battleships and how he wanted more. I mean, that's just the most ridiculous thing in the world. Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. Everybody in that room knows that. They are well trained and disciplined, so nobody said fuck off and walked out. But emotionally, mentally, I'd be shocked if 10% of that room was happy with what they saw. I would bet you it's not even that. Because if you're a real MAGA guy, you're looking at them and going, what the fuck are these guys talking about? I'm an actual war fighter. And they're just having this like MAGA wank off on the stage. And, somebody said something interesting. They said, that gets at the core of what is wrong with MAGA and Trumpism in general. They only know how to do spectacle. They don't know how to do policy.
Right. So, well, spectacle matters a lot. I mean, they know how to perform. They know how to campaign. They know how to sell an idea. And usually that is done by scaring the shit out of people with nonsense. But they don't know how to govern, and they don't know how to effectuate policy. And they don't really seemingly care. I mean,
well, they will when things go seriously wrong. I mean, because what's going to happen sooner or later is Trump's second term. He is waving the red flag at economic problems, at military problems, strategic problems. One of these days, something big is going to come along. And an economic problem in particular, where I don't think they have any idea what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're going to be in a world of trouble. And then the spectacle is not going to look very spectacular to the average American. The average American is going to be saying, fuck you, fix this for me. And these are not the kind of guys who can fix things.
Well, some of them are really pretty good. I mean, RFK is fixing autism, which I think is impressive.
It's amazing that Tylenol somehow got in a time machine and started making French kids in the 1850s.
It's
autistic. It's
crazy.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Dr. Oz up there backing him up.
Yeah.
They announced yesterday Trump advertised a fake thing.
Yeah, the med bed. That was pretty amazing.
It's crazy. It's crazy that he did that.
I will tell you, I look at the people that I grew up with who are on social media. The vast majority are fine. But there's a subset who just seem culturally, psychologically, personally predisposed to just getting sucked into every single weird thing you can possibly imagine.
What do you mean?
I was just talking with a friend last night about a friend of ours who was like a big left-wing guy in DC in the 70s, 80s, 90s, who is now a Church of Charlie Kirk guy.
What?
And this was like an incredibly like a Sandinista back in the day. But he was always a bit of a conspiracy monger, and the right wing now provides much more bang for your buck.
Right.
If you're the kind of person who gets endorphins from conspiracy. And so now this guy is just a whole like intense, like, Boyle, why did your people kill Charlie kind of guy?
Oh boy. Well, it's not
Mhm.
just endorphins. I mean, you underplay the amount of money
Well,
that.
this guy's not making a penny from it.
Yeah, but
He's sitting in his small room in his sad apartment,
brutal.
feeling important because he talks about this big conspiracy that he seems to know about.
It's so brutal.
But that's a lot of our world. I mean, that's a ton of our world. And if you go to Facebook, and just if you really want to ruin your afternoon, read the like AI slop that's generated. As you know, I'm a huge history nerd, and somehow it knows that. And half the stuff that it sends me, that's like, it's always something I've never heard of, like the Society for Alaskan Indian History or something, and it'll be something about Indian history. They're all like remarkably wrong, factually wrong, like remarkably wrong. And being a big history nerd, like it's stuff about World War II where I'm reading it going like, this is absolutely factually wrong. That just means that like all these people who are addicted to something like Facebook are just having horseshit AI'd into their ears every day.
What do you make about a lot of people, smart people that are kind of on Earth One, progressive people, not trusting, not believing what is coming out of Kash Patel's FBI and Pam Bondi's DOJ around these assassination of Charlie Kirk and the shooting the other day at the ICE facility? A lot of people are not buying, these.
Well, I think they've proven to be remarkably untrustworthy people, right?
Right.
So I would wait until you see the court case before I'd ever take any real, take anything at face value. I mean, if it comes from Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, almost certainly it's been altered to fit their political agenda. I mean, they've proven yet again and again that that's what they do. So I don't think there's anything conspiratorial about that. You're not confabulating other facts. You should just be saying, okay, I'm not gonna buy any of this until I get facts from at least a reasonably unbiased source.
But it's hard because, I've never thought that journalists should trust the government's official stories, certainly when it comes to public safety agencies and law enforcement agencies, military agencies, because we've seen the kind of lies they tell to protect themselves and so on. But it's very hard to get to the bottom of the truth on any of these things as a journalist, as a member of the media, because you all you have is the official report from the government, and if the government's not to be trusted, what do you do?
No, but what happens is that all of these cases end up in a courtroom eventually, and when they do end up in a courtroom, you've got a defense attorney.
Great point.
Our judicial system at least works on that level, where both sides' stories will come out in a court case. But yeah, I think you shouldn't trust this government for what they say, because they are transparently biased in everything they say. It's absurd how biased they are. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be, that's a good example of like saying there's both siderism is dumb. There are not two sides in that case. Democratic governments can sometimes do fucked up things. Previous Republican governments have sometimes been dishonest. But this particular Republican government is unbelievably dishonest, and that's just the reality of it.
What do you have pretty strong opinions and seem to really want to talk about? I don't know if it's just because it's me and I'm a comic, but you have some strong opinions on these comedians performing in Saudi Arabia. You want to cancel them all, apparently. What are your thoughts? Well, Pete Davidson's dad was a firefighter who died on 9/11.
Yeah, exactly.
He performed, so who are you to pass judgment?
Oh, I'm a freeborn American citizen. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I can judge who I want, and I'll vote that way too, by the way. I mean, what I said before about the death of virtue as a civic thing really is underlined by that. I mean, Bill Burr's brand has been for a long time saying, hey, stop being assholes and stop being corrupt shitbirds who pretend they're not doing terrible things. Yes, you liberals are a little too much and a little obnoxious and whatever, but Republicans are racist and a lot of people lie and whatever. Like Bill Burr's whole brand is like saying, hey, let's be honest about things, yet now and let's be like decent to one another. And yet he's going to accept a very large paycheck from like close to the 3-year anniversary of the dismemberment, the abduction and then the dismemberment of an American journalist. Khashoggi was had American citizenship. right? So like, you're taking money from people who murdered a journalist for writing about their various
everybody's taking money from bad people. Most people are
these guys own slaves. Come on. Would you take, you can remember, by the way, I've been consistent on this. The people who took money from RT, I savaged them too. Right? You do not need to give up.
Well,
your morals to such an insane degree. Right? Nothing's perfect. Nothing's pure as snow. Slavery, murdering journalists, the people who were behind 9/11 to some extent. I mean, what the fuck? That, if you accept that, then you can't give like anyone shit for having like taken money from the Germans to report positively in World War II. Why would you? And that's the problem, right? Virtue isn't you do everything perfectly. Virtue is you try to do things better. And in this case, these guys are all just going, fuck it, I'll take the money.
I talked to one of the comedians who just got back from performing there, and we had a long conversation yesterday off the record, and he basically told me, he's like, I've been to UAE, I've been to Dubai, and when we go and we perform at these places, we open their minds, we liberalize them, we integrate them into a more acceptable society.
That is absolutely bullshit. Saudi Arabia is doing worse things to journalists now than it was 10 years ago. Right? I mean, it is. Under MBS, Saudi Arabia is a much more savage place than it was. They're not changing anyone's mind. What they're doing is whitewashing dictatorships that do terrible things. And by the way, I don't know why you have to take money from UAE or Dubai or these other places that do really fucking terrible things. I don't get it. I don't, if you said like, oh, I took money from Idi Amin, I mean, what the fuck, whatever. I mean, the people in Uganda really were enlightened by my comedy. Or better yet, like the people who played in South Africa under apartheid. Were they really making things better? No, they weren't. They were mainstreaming shitty regimes. That's what they were doing. And these guys are fucking kidding themselves while they pocket, a very big check. They're just kidding themselves that they're changing anything. That is such bullshit.
Do you think it's similar to a lot of these liberal comedians who are being critical of those who performed, and their politics, their gender, their sexual identity? I mean, pretty much everything covered in terms of the comedians that performed in Saudi Arabia. But a lot of comics perform at a kind of a very liberal place in Austin. They have this Moon Tower Festival, music and comedy. And this guy told me that seems a little bit weird that they're throwing stones at those who perform in Saudi Arabia when the Moon Tower Comedy Festival is in Texas. Texas has banned abortion. It is jailing brown people, taking away gay rights. So Texas is like the Saudi Arabia of the U.S.
Totally
Should bullshit. They stop performing?
Total bullshit. Is that festival a direct outgrowth of the Republican Party that's doing all those things in Texas? It's like the city of Austin doing it, right?
Go ahead. So, you're asking, yeah.
I mean, so that festival is not like the Texas GOP is running that festival. That's a festival that's like an Austin City festival. So the whoever's telling you this is really working hard to bullshit themselves. I mean, really working hard. And they, let me put it this way, whoever it is, tell them when they finally figure this all out, they could probably make a really good comedy routine out of it. About fucking bullshitting themselves, to comparing, what is it, the Moon Festival in Austin, to going and talking in front of people in Saudi Arabia who are murdering journalists and have slaves. Like, give me a fucking break. That's ridiculous.
Bill Burr said it was a great experience, that part of the world, to be in that part of the world, be part of the first comedy festival ever there. The Royals loved the show. Everyone was happy. The people that were doing the festival were thrilled. The comedians I've been talking to were saying, dude, you could feel the audience really wanted it. They wanted to see stand-up comedy. It was a mind-blowing experience. Definitely top 3 experiences I've had. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things, said Burr.
Bill Burr's also fucking kidding himself. By the way, did Bill Burr mention that he was not allowed to mention slavery in Saudi Arabia or anything else bad about Saudi Arabia while he was there?
There were all of them. I think most of the comics acknowledge that there were restrictions, but there's always restrictions on, not always, there's often restrictions on the gigs that we do as comedians.
Okay, imagine if Bill Burr went to the Texas Moon Festival or wherever the fuck it is, and they told him, you can't criticize the government. Would Bill Burr do that show? I guess the answer is if there was enough money in it for him. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think Bill Burr has utterly blown up his reputation, and he could talk about how awesome it felt. And I hope he felt awesome about that as he like drove past people on the street who were sweeping the highway who work for nothing.
David Cross wrote,
Cross crushed him. I loved it.
I'm disgusted and deeply disappointed in this whole gross thing that people I admire with an unarguable talent would condone this totalitarian fiefdom for what? A fourth house, a boat, more sneakers. Exactly. We can never again take seriously anything these comedians complain about, unless it's complaining that we don't support enough torture and mass executions of journalists and LGBTQ peace activists here in the States, or that we don't terrorize enough Americans by flying planes into our building. I mean, that's it. You have a funny bit about how you don't like Yankee candles or airport lounges. Okay, great. But you're cool with murder and or the public caning of women who were raped and having the audacity to be raped were guilty of engaging in adultery. Got any bits on that?
Precisely. Like totally perfect. Exactly. I mean, these guys, Bill Burr's kidding himself. And I think Bill Burr actually did damage to himself. I think his career is now his career and his fan base. Well, maybe he just goes MAGA like everyone else.
He's not going MAGA, but I mean, I don't think anybody doesn't say that's the thing. I think that you make a lot of good arguments. I think I generally agree with them. I think my reputation, my conscience is clear in terms of the things I've done and where I've taken money in my life and how I've made it. But I think that most people probably don't care. If they like this is their favorite comedian. I mean, he's going to turn the criticism in the material too. Hey, everybody's complaining I went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you something. I was a fan until 3 or 4 days ago. Now, fuck him. I'll never watch him again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's like 4 of you with that kind of.
No, but I will tell you that I think that over time, right? Particularly if you're his kind of comedian who makes a point of talking about how people are full of shit. If you do something that is manifestly full of shit, you're attacking your own brand. And what he did is manifestly full of shit.
Yeah.
He can tell it. You can go, I'm sure Bill Maher will hug him and say it's all great. And they'll smoke a cigar and look like a bunch of douchebags in that after Maher show, whatever the fuck it's called. But that doesn't mean that like discerning people who like really think won't think he's a complete piece of shit. And you know what? That's fine. It's just me. I'm who I am, but I don't think that I personally think this is sort of how people become sort of MAGA comedians. Aziz Ansari was there, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Which, like, coming from the Jon Stewart world originally, right? Isn't that really where he got his first?
Not really.
No?
I guess I knew him when he started comedy. I used to hang out with him all the time. He was a stand-up in New York, but yeah, I guess his first main big stage thing, I think, might have been the Daily Show.
I mean, that guy also had a bit of a Me Too problem, right?
He did.
Right. And like, that's sort of where these guys, like Aziz Ansari before the Me Too thing, never would have done this show.
Yeah, maybe. It is interesting to see. I mean, spend a lot of time on it. I don't mind. It is interesting to see who did it and who didn't do it. Like Pete Davidson, apparently, I'm reading the quote. He's like, I'm getting a little bit of flack just because my dad died on 9/11. So they're like, how could you possibly go there? And then I get the check. I see the number and I go, oh, I'll go. Tim Dillon was going to get $375,000.
Well, and that story actually underlines.
Gillis said, a lot of people thought he was MAGA and helped Trump get elected. Well, he said, I took a principled stand. You don't 9/11 your friends. So does he gain respect in your world?
Wait, did he go or not go?
He didn't.
Good for him.
Against it.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, like, I don't give a shit if someone's MAGA or not MAGA in that sense. If they said, I'm not going to do this shitty thing, good for them. That's fucking great. And that kind of gets at my point of like, virtue isn't political. It's not partisan. It's like, are you going to take money from these fucking awful people or not? And if you're the kind of person who takes money from them, it's like, whatever, my dad died in 9/11. Like Pete Davidson's a clown and a shitbird, and that's it. And fuck him. I mean, it's funny because I know the cliche is liberals are supposed to be like mamby-pamby about all this stuff. I'm not. I'm really fucking liberal. Fuck these guys. Assholes. Total assholes.
All right, finally, what do you make of everything that happened around Jimmy Kimmel's firing and return tonight. He's in Brooklyn. He's got Colbert and Seth Meyers on the show, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of all that?
So Disney lost 1.7 million subscribers, partially because they did that really brilliant thing of creating this firestorm right as they were raising their rates. Right. So they lost 1.7 million subscribers globally. They panicked when they realized that people were like, fuck you, you're getting rid of this guy. And here's Trump's problem, right? In the Niemöller sort of, first they came for the communists and I didn't care thing.
Yeah.
The people in that poem that were taken before Niemöller were real unpopular in Germany, right? Trump's problem is America doesn't have large groups that other Americans are, like the majority of other Americans are totally bent out of shape about, right? We have race problems, certainly. We have some anti-Semitism. There's some transphobia, that sort of thing. But we don't have communists and Jews and whatever that Germans were full of hatred and bitterness about to a large degree, right? So Trump is like almost immediately, first they came for the communists, then they came for Jimmy Kimmel. It doesn't work here like that. Jimmy Kimmel's popular. People like him. And if Trump is already on the list of going after people that are popular and well-liked, well, guess what happens? People vote with their pocketbooks. They vote in the booth. They get mad and they fight back. And in this case, look at how fragile this attack was on like late night comedy. It was over. Trump lost abjectly within days. And they lost because these guys are terrified of regular people just saying, fuck it, I'm quitting the subscription. That's all. There was no fighting in the streets, nothing. And I think that like what these guys are trying to do is effectively jawbone themselves into a dictatorship. Again, they can't do policy. They're all spectacle. And so it's all pick these fights and have these big movements and whatever. But in the end, they have a glass jaw. 60% of the country doesn't fucking like them. When you look at the polling, people who really don't like them, like vehemently hate them, are like 48 to 50%. That's not, and then there's like another 10% that sort of dislike them. Like they have polarized the country against them. And I think that the Kimmel situation, which, you can get into all the ins and outs of it. Everyone's done that. So I'm not going to bother. But the bottom line is it shows they're weak.
Right.
And it shows that there's, right. On your not podcast, but on your meet the other night, that's what I was trying to get through to people that, it's the curling up a ball and dying. Like whenever something happens, people go, oh my God, that's chilling. Well, everyone before, and I said this to you specifically about the meeting that Hegseth did, and then Trump came to today. I said these moments that are chilling often end up being debacles. It's actually normally not oh shit, this is the next phase of dictatorship. Normally it's like, oh, awesome, this is the beginning of the next fucking meltdown and screw up these guys have. Today was a perfect example of that. Everyone's so scared. And when you look at these things they do and immediately go, oh my God, the republic's over, you're giving them power.
It occurred to me, I should have asked you this earlier, I guess it doesn't matter, watching all those 4-star generals there who'd been in the military for 30 years, probably pushing 60. They're the top military leaders in America, in the world. And then watching Trump stand up there and ramble.
Yeah.
And just
one
really
eyelid drooping.
I mean, it was real bizarre, folks. If you didn't see it, I watched it, a lot of it, on double speed, and it was boring.
Oh, it's just a weird old man
you think
how makeup at you.
So take today and what he did today with all those guys, looking at that audience, and then go last week to the UN and look at that audience of world leaders. These were two events where the most influential people in the world were the audience. It wasn't a Trump rally.
Yeah.
And they stared at this man who was rambling, and all of them, I'm guessing every one of them, almost the vast majority of them at least, were like, this dude is crazy. And he's a madman. He's gone mad. He is mad. He's a sociopath. He's an idiot. He's embarrassing. He said to these world leaders, all of your countries are going to hell, and I'm right about everything. He made other authoritarian leaders look normal, like look calculated. All of them, by the way.
Yeah.
who's the craziest dictator authoritarian we ever had? Like a really psychologically madman. I mean, pick
We've
one.
never had one like this.
Never had anybody.
Yeah.
This guy, those people, all those other men picked their spots. They wrote their. By the way, here's something simple to observe. I don't know this for sure, but Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and any of the great orators, I bet you they mostly stuck to the speech.
Oh, of course.
They didn't ramble off on tangents because that looks you look weak. And those are bad moments. I know this as a performer. Hit your spots, baby. And he was all over the place.
Yeah, Trump is in like this enclosed, weird little world now where he doesn't really know what's going on. And I think Stephen Miller is his gatekeeper. And for the most part, and Susan Wiles is sort of trying to keep things normal, and Miller is heading up all the craziness. I mean, when the governor of Oregon called Trump and said, we don't need troops in Portland.
Yeah.
Look at here, I'll send you videos and like whatever. Like this isn't happening here. There isn't.
He thinks there's riots. He's looking at
Trump
from like 3 years ago and shit. His people are whatever. He is.
Yeah, Trump literally said, like, I guess what I'm seeing on TV isn't happening. So he's like watching Fox and they're showing from Antifa from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he thinks there's like downtown. And, some of that is bullshit, right? Because the main purpose is not to solve anything in Portland. The main thing is that he just wants to exert power. Right?
What do you want?
He's a baby. He's a baby with a rat.
What they really want is for nonviolent, peaceful protesters to become violent. And then they can, I mean, that's what they want. That's what they're trying to get.
Except that, it's not working super well. I mean, I'll tell you, in Oregon, they're freaking out.
I bet it's gonna.
Well, we'll see. I mean, what's happening, though, remember that it's very clear to people. And if you poll, for instance, what they're doing in Washington, it's really unpopular in America. It's like 60% of people think it's wrong that there's federal troops here. So these guys made the mistake of fomenting or putting the troops in, then trying to foment the violence. And that was a strategic error beyond belief, because what they should have done is fomented the violence first and then said, well, we have to put troops in. Because now the average voter, I don't think, looks at this and goes, yeah, oh yeah, this is justified. They think it's fucking weird and crazy. And I think that, again, they don't have the chops. They don't have somebody, as you brought up, like people like Hitler and Stalin. Those guys were calculating as hell all the time.
Yeah.
Hitler took over Germany legally, basically. And he did it because he was like, okay, well, here are the power blocks, and how can I move this group, and what can I do with that group? And it was a lot of incredible machinations that led to the Nazis taking power. Stalin spent years as general secretary, which was not, by the way, did you ever think about the fact that the head of Russia was the general secretary of the party, the guy who takes notes, right? That's because Stalin realized that was the guy in charge of personnel, in effect, in the Bolshevik party. And so what Stalin did was put all of his own people in all the offices over more than a decade. Like, these are incredibly calculating guys who used bureaucracy and used maneuvering, political maneuvering, ideology, everything else. Trump is just this big, fat, weird baby covered in orange pancake makeup who is just kind of banging his rattle off of stuff.
We're talking about how these things are not going as planned for the regime, and it's embarrassing them, making them look weak. And there's one more that I can think of from this past week, and that, of course, is the indictment of James Comey. Thoughts?
God, I hate Comey. And I'll really resent Trump even more for the fact that he lets Comey look and be heroic. Comey, and by the way, like, think about this. This, again, gets at how fucking stupid they are. You're going to go after a guy on a ridiculous, trumped-up, stupid charge, to the degree that Andrew McCarthy at the National Review and other very conservative lawyers are like, this case is fucking bullshit and should be thrown out tomorrow. But you're also going against, like, an incredibly good lawyer who's got tons of money to fight you, who is tight with everybody in the legal community, who ends up with Patrick Fitzgerald, who is like a fucking werewolf of defense law, who he probably gets for free. Like, he picks the strongest opponent.
Going against a prosecutor who's never prosecuted.
Who's an insurance lawyer. Like, she's gonna get, and she can't get other lawyers at DOJ to join the case.
Right.
So, like, literally, like, they're just going to get murdered in court. I'll be shocked if it goes. I'll be shocked if it even makes it
to trial, right? Yeah.
So, like, again, it gets how fucking dumb these guys are.
Yeah.
Because Comey gets to go out there and he's going to make a big thing of it, and he's going to be in the news, and people are going to see it.
Don't you think that they try to adapt and they try to do something else, but once they fail with Kimmel, in terms of kicking off the comedians they don't like, once they fail with Comey, do they try again do they try to indict Milley and Hillary and Obama? Once
sure, they'll go down some stupid fucking.
Is the indictment itself, we've announced an indictment, is that appease the king? Is that appease MAGA enough that, because they lose, as you said, this will probably be thrown out, I'll never even make it to trial,
right?
He wants to go after the Attorney General of New York, Tish James. I mean,
he wants to go after Ray because Ray came out and said what they're saying about Comey is total bullshit and it's wrong.
Same with Bill Barr. Barr told him in Trump 1 there's no case against Comey.
No, and again, I think it's to appease Trump's ego. But I also think
do you think they keep trying, and because they know they're going to fail again? Once you fail, once we beat them back, that's the thing about, we keep hearing this rhetoric about once you appease the bully, they keep coming for your lunch money. You got to fight back. You got to punch them in the nose. Well, that's what happened. That Kimmel did. That's what Kimmel did. That's what James Comey is going to do.
That's right.
I think they start to back down with the consistent with the failure being so.
Well, they just keep groping for the next tool to swing, and again, that's the whole point. Like, where the universities really fucked up and some of those law firms really fucked up was agreeing at all. They should have said, pound it up your ass, fuck you.
Wow.
And if they had done that, Trump would not have gotten any money from any of these universities, and we'd all be in a much better position.
Vivid.
There has been a failure of our elites. That is for sure. And I think a big part of it is that a lot of these people are in cushy jobs where they never really had to like throw a sharp elbow outside of like a committee room. And they're not really suited for purpose for like having it out with an authoritarian government, which by the way, we already do have. Like, and this is where, I think it might be weird to you that I'm much less concerned seeming than I was last term. But I feel like the thing I was worried about has already happened. We already have an authoritarian government. We just have a really ineffective one that is incredibly clumsy and that can be turned around and can be beaten. But the part of like, I think everyone should stop going, oh shit, if this happens, then we're going to have an authoritarian government. We already do. It's already here. They're already blowing off the law. They're already doing all these idiotic things in foreign policy. They're, and yet, even though we do have, let's call it a soft authoritarian government, even though that already exists, it's not at all fucking effective. And it's really not popular. As the joke that I was drinking with beers with friends last week, I said, Trump is no Juan Perón, right? Because Juan Perón was the dictator of Argentina, really the elected president, but effectively dictator of Argentina, who for a long time was incredibly popular. And Trump has never been that guy. He's not able to create a mass movement. He's the outgrowth of one. And it's not it is a very inchoate and disorganized one full of factions. And, I think the future there's grim times ahead, but the medium-term future, I think, is pretty rosy.
Wow, I like to hear it. Finally, before I let you go, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have announced that they would break up. Thoughts?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm really bummed out about it. Although now it finally gives me a chance with Keith Urban. It's too obvious, huh?
I saw it right before. I knew you weren't
on my line, man.
Right across the plate. I saw it right there at the vinyl. All right. All right, buddy. It was great as always. Bill Boyle. Follow him right now on Blue Sky. That's really the only plug.
It is. And go Yankees.
Yeah, go Yanks.
All right.
Saw me take my dad to the game the other day.
I saw you. I did hear. I heard you talking about it. That's awesome. Yeah. Good stuff. Chisel D.
I sent my brother. We're in the top tier because Chisel's cheap.
Yep.
And I sent the picture to my brother, who
mm-hmm.
And he raises, great seats. Pull some strings, did you? Call it a favor. Twist an arm or two. Grease a palm. You cheap fuck.
Nice.
We were there though. We were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
my dad doesn't drink, but I got one of those giant beers. He goes, I can't believe that beer is $16. I go, yeah, but it's like 3 beers, Pop. Look,
Right.
like 3 beers high.
But it was Bud Light, I'm sure. So it was really like half a beer.
It was Bud Light.
Yeah. It's like,
It was. Here's the
it's 3 beers and 4 trips to the bathroom. Yeah. Nice. Jesus Christ, dude. Did you have like oxygen masks?
Yeah, we're up there pretty.
Fuck me. My God.
All right, bud. Thank you very much. I appreciate you as always. Thanks for everybody for watching for live. And I will post this for tomorrow on the podcast, but you saw it here. Thanks, Bill.
Awesome. Cheers, pal. Be good.
Bye, everybody.